In Shareverse of 1964, five teenagers with attitude initiated a cosmic war with a reawakened witch and her army of clay soldiers. Throughout the next 3 years, a sixth member would be added and later promoted as the leader, more alien threats, and even a marriage would happen, and members would come and go. Ultimately, in 1969, the intergalactic threat of the United Alliance of Evil would be either eradicated or redeemed due to the universal effect of the Z-Wave. As for the original five Rangers, while retired, their monumental work laid the foundation of the American Ranger organization, honored throughout the decades. But in 2017, one accidental catastrophe would put their souls in jeopardy from their mortal nemesis, and it would take an unlikely team to rescue them. This is Stand Up 2. I'm AJ, and even though this is a sequel, Stand Up 2 is not a part of U.N.I.T.S. This event happens well after the multi-storylines finale, and it allows the characters from this storyline to get to do more stuff, as well as a forced fifth member. As stated in the abrupt ending to the Seth Girls event, link here, the mysterious demon Double pledged her loyalty to the former restorers of the Ranger Flame. While this action raised many eyebrows, there was no clear motivation for it since Double always kept a tight lip for her reasonings. So Trakina and the others made room for their fifth wheel for whenever they met up and wanted to hang out. But Double's silence wouldn't remain for long. At the turn of the spring season in 2017, Trakina was proud on how her rehabilitation program was doing with the three villainesses. Miratrix continued her brawls, but with reasonable outcomes and tactics, Mora becoming less stingy, though always groaned at the ideas of her boss's boomer-filled ideas, and Vipra continued to improve her English skills. Mostly. On one day in April, they decided to go on vacation and visit Trakina's most loyal and renowned employee during her Fox Kids special days. The joke is that she now works for said employee. But during this time, Paramount decided to drop a bomb. They decided to make a reboot movie of the original Mighty Morphin team's adventures, telling the tale of their war against Rita in a dark and dreary modern setting. While this wasn't a major issue at first, things would only escalate further. To coincide with the release of the reboot, the hit internet series Death Battle decided to pit the original Mighty Morphin Megazord against its commonly compared combiner robot, Voltron. As per usual in Shareverse, the fights that occur in Death Battle occasionally feature the Astro Souls engaging in a deathmatch, with Megazord vs. Voltron being just one of those examples. The Astro Souls for both mechs fought to the death, and if you saw the death battle, you would know that Voltron emerged victorious, resulting in the souls for the Rangers entering the afterlife for a 24-hour sentence. Or at least that was the plan. In Shareverse, if the loser of a death battle dies, a prisoner from Hell could request the loser to accompany them for those 24 hours. And it just so happens that all five Rangers were requested to Hell by their mortal nemesis, Rita. Now, if you recall, at the end of Stand Up 1, the Ranger Flame was restored. Therefore, shouldn't that mean Rita and Zed were good again? Well, the final battle caused a loophole. Even though the Restorers did fight and kill evil Rangers hired by Rita, at the end of the day, they did kill five individuals with attitude several times over, meaning that the villainous pillars were restored prior to Rita's defeat. Which explains Rita remaining evil during Blood of Sub-Zero, the unit's finale, and right now. But with the original Rangers dead, that meant that the flame was somewhat disrupted, allowing the uppermints to return, and Rita knew just how to use this advantage. She trapped the souls of the Rangers and gave their powers, weapons, and abilities to her Rangers. And with their deaths, Rita was able to resurrect herself and her team back to Earth. Which meant yes, Zed sat this outing out, since there wasn't enough energy to bring him back too. Additionally, that also meant that the entrapment of the Rangers also featured Trini. When it comes to characters that were predominantly played by an actor, and that actor passed away so tragically at a young age, it's hard to separate the character from the actor. I know that in the comics, Trini does get to do some more stuff, and at an older age, but for the sake of Shareverse and briefness, Trini was already in heaven by 2017, only coming back down to Earth for the sole purpose of death battle, which in turn got her trapped by Rita after the fight. At their arrival, the Restorers suddenly received their uppermints again, and with that notion, they realized something was wrong. Miss Lilith offered original Disney's assistance, but Trakina said it wouldn't be needed since this fight was personal. Strangely, upon this reactivation, Double became a more feral, for the return of the Rita Rangers were at play. Once again, this is a carryover of the original ideas, with the uppermints being similar to the stands depicted in JoJo. Each of the Rangers carried over a stolen possession of the Mighty Morphin abilities, which was originally planned as an Act 2 for their proposed stands. But in the revisions, those were changed to just having their respective colors, weapons, and Zords. And with the release of the reboot, Rita got a residual check for the movie using her likeness. Meaning, using her money, she was able to create her putties once more. Naturally, the girls got their asses handed to them, and with Rita's growing army, there was no need for her to sacrifice her life force for the continuous resurrection of her Rangers. This would lead into an Easter week long filled with battles, choreography, and giant robots. Similarly to their matchups in the first installment, the Restorers fought each Ranger member, but this time around it was a fair match, with both teams having 5 members. Double taking the place of Mach-Cop when fighting Fuse, but Fuse addressed that he knew what Double was after during their fight. Double just ignored him as she teared him apart. These battles occurred all throughout Florida, and while they stayed away from the reoccurring battlefields between Neo Disney and Original Disney, eventually the Restorers got a workaround and ended their fights in a tie with the Rangers. With this mild annoyance, Rita decided that it was time for her to make an appearance. Friday, April 14th. That's right, Good Friday. And what a Good Friday it was! As Rita acknowledges that she hasn't seen Double in centuries, eons even. Meaning Double's involvement with the Restorers was more important than any of them could imagine. With Lab Zero never giving a backstory for Double, sometimes with conflicting facts, I decided to use what little information that is canon and give Double a Shareverse backstory treatment. Many eons ago, Double was a loyal servant to the Trinity, the Mother, Aeon, and Venus, even designing her human form off of the 3. However, this was a time where the world was unpure and full of sin, and also dinosaurs roaming around. That was when a much younger, more hip Rita attacked Earth for the first time and killed off many, including the original bodies of the Trinity. Double watched in horror as the Mother Goddess and her daughters were ripped apart piece by piece. The entity that would later be known as the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet was also involved. Once Rita had her fun, she left Earth and continued her conquest on other planets, leaving Double to die from an eventual meteor that eradicated most normal soul life forms and the preceding flood and ice age. However, Double would survive, and knowing the horrors and trauma of the Trinity being destroyed, she made it her duty to restore their beliefs and attempt to preach their word in any way possible. And so, centuries upon centuries pass until the 20th century, where she found that New Meridian would be a feasible spot to reconstruct the Trinity's beliefs. While their original bodies were destroyed, the 3 women now existed in a separate plane of existence, watching the world through a television. They gifted Double the Skull Heart to be utilized to cause mayhem and chaos. But deep in Double's head, she wanted to avenge their deaths in hopes that she would find her personal peace. And that is why she wanted to stay with Trakina. She realized that she too has a history with the witch. She battled Rita in a fit of rage, but was ultimately stopped and beaten down, while the other Restorers fought against the Rangers and their stolen Megazord. Rita continued to look down at Double, mocking her for believing a dead old world religion. But as she was ready to lay the final blow, Double's true range of emotions were breached. Her entire vision consumed with endless rage, Double's body began to deteriorate and morph into a combat attire, not being afraid to morph her body into any dangerous weapon. She then faced off against the entire army of putties and slaughtered them all, followed by the Rangers and the Zord, with Double morphing her body into a more monstrous state and destroyed the robot. Switching back to a smaller form, she attacked Rita once more, ripping her limbs to prevent any more resurrections. Realizing the longevity, Drakina decided to help, as a means to reassure Double that she does not have to be alone anymore. But Rita was one step ahead of them. From all the blood and carnage from Double's attacks, Rita had just enough blood and life force to sacrifice and resurrect the all-powerful Nizar, the final boss of U.N.I.T.S. But in a last-minute freakout, there was a swap. For Nizar didn't return, but his very own creation, Nozomi. During the climax of a Shareverse parody series, it turns out that Nozomi not only self-destructed the base earlier in the year, but gave the orders to the afterlife for her to be resurrected first before her creator, since she knew that Rita would perform a stunt like this. With this major miscalculation, Rita was completely drained, having both women land a final blow to send her back to hell. On top of that, they released the Rangers from Rita's shackles. Trini's soul was put back to rest once more, as the other Astro Souls were revived normally. Lilithmon was surprised that the Restorers were able to accomplish their mission without her additional help, and admired their dedication and commitment to restoring the Ranger Flame once more. The other girls reunited with the two Victorious, as they were rewarded with the continuation of a well-deserved vacation. As too, did the third girl agree with them. Wait, what? So, it turns out when Double unleashed her rage, she accidentally released a being she once absorbed many centuries ago. When Double was in the midst of resurrecting the Trinity's religion, she came across an old Mayan temple infested with the remains of a xenomorph nest. A facehugger tried to latch itself onto her, but she was easily able to absorb it. But considering how xenomorphs are based off of the host that they come from, this newly born xenomorph copied all of Double's shape-shifting abilities and absorption traits. But it would be sealed away inside Double's infinitely stretching innards, only being able to come out once Double's introverted nature was expelled. This new breed of xenomorph, self-titled Kreia, was happily able to morph herself into Double's armor whenever the time was called for, and be a part of the team. Miss Lilith being involved in this conversation, she began to think if gaining more properties could help the Civil War in the Disney alignment, with 20th Century Fox being a somewhat reliable resource. But those ideas won't be brought up again until later in the year. For now, the girls enjoyed the rest of their vacation as Stand Up 2 comes to a close, Nozomi getting to reconcile with my reflection, and all is well. And hopefully, this would be the only death battle that not only features somebody from Power Rangers, but that the outcome isn't too damaging to some Astro Souls. Right? Right? This was a quick but important storyline to Shareverse, not only giving Double a reason and a purpose, but to see where the Restorers were shortly after the events of U.N.I.T.S. This wouldn't be the only time where the Restorers would be involved in a future storyline, and this is not the only time a post-U.N.I.T.S. related sequel storyline occurs in Shareverse. If you would like to see whenever that video comes out, make sure you like and subscribe. Until then, I'm AJ, and I'll see you all in the next one.